Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this 6th day of November. Got a great show with you all tonight here on the program. Going to talk about this Dallas game. Got a different take than a lot of people may have on this. Good scope, bad scope, where I was right, where I was wrong about everything. Also, Aaron Rodgers out there throwing the ball tonight. He's throwing 50-yard bombs. It's got on TV. It's trending. Now he's out there throwing the ball. I do think that he probably will come back. I'll do a little quick comment on tonight's game. Jets at home against the Chargers there. Let's see. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff to go over, a lot of news and notes. The little bit of NBA news I just read just a few minutes ago about Robert Williams. I didn't even put that in the title, folks. But first, let's go ahead and take our first and only break, and we will hit the ground running here in 49 seconds on Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All righty then. Now I'm back here live. Okay. Start off what I thought that was the most interesting game of the weekend. People who don't follow the NFL the way I do, and some people that I deal with on these programs, your Jim Jeffcoats, a lot of your NFL reporters, Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, the people at Pro Football Focus, a lot of the former athletes you see on TV, Mel Kiper, people like that. But the truth of the matter is, folks, that this Eagles team is a loaded football team. All right. They went to the Super Bowl last year, and they get a top 10 pick in Jalen Carter. Okay. They get a great running back out of Detroit in a trade. They get the Titans, one of the better safeties ever to play for the Tennessee Titans in a trade, Kevin Byard. They are a very highly stacked team. They are arguably the best roster in the league. Okay, trying to put some context in the game that was played yesterday at 4:15. 4:25 Eastern and whatnot. So they are a really they're a really good team. And I'll tell you this. They got the best O-line, the best defensive line. Dak didn't turn it over. He didn't throw an interception. He made some plays down the stretch. He would like to have back, actually. You want to look at the fact that Ferguson was an inch away from scoring again. Dak was an inch away. And the difference between this game and the Jets who are playing tonight, kind of jumped the gun here, but So, by the way, not to get too mixed matched here. Like the Jets tonight, could go either way. I like it within that 3 to 5 point range either way. Rodgers out there throwing footballs at the 50-yard line. I think he may come back. I got a little ahead of myself. But back to this Cowboy-Eagle game. It was the best game. I recorded it. I was telling my dad yesterday I got real irritated with I had a parlay with the Falcons, and that one didn't go right. And I'll probably talk about them tomorrow because they're kind of a loser team. I talk about the winners, okay? But I like the way I said this in the off season. This group of Cowboys, and listen, people knows me. I'm not a fan of anything. I'm a fan. This is why I tell people at work. I'm a fan of my takes. I'm spending hours taking, I told John, I did, Restado, thank you for having me on Spitball and Sports Friday. I think he may have thought I may have been joking. I'm taking a major pay cut to do this program for you all because I'm taking a chance on myself to do this and eat, sleep, drink, everything football. All right. Almost too much. I don't care. I love to do it. I want to get this thing off the ground. You see the kind of time I'm putting in here. So my point is that I don't sugarcoat stuff. I don't suck up to people. I don't have a team. I'm a fan of my takes. And what I saw yesterday, it was a Dallas team that, as I mentioned in the offseason, coming into this season, there is a lot more seriousness that this group takes to winning that you got to appreciate compared to last year's team. And the Tony Romo said this on CBS. He said this. He said that he padded his stats. He would call for passing plays inside the 5. That's not my line. This is his words. Tony Romo said, I did that. That's why when I had former Cowboy on that played the championship teams in 93, 90, 92, and 93, Jim Jeffcoat on, I told him, I said, I like this group's attention to detail more. I like this group's desire to win football games more. Okay. You said, wait, do you count moral losses? I'm trying to give you context, folks, of how good this Eagles team really is, even though they're not looking like world beaters. How many teams get that many first-round picks and would lose the Super Bowl? I think Carter was the 5th pick overall or something. Jalen Carter is Defensive Rookie of the Year, folks. And none of those players, Darius Slay, none of those played against the Jets a few weeks ago. That's why they lost that game, okay? But I like the way, and I know there was some mismanagement there towards the end, but when I look at the box score, I was telling my dad, it would have been great if Dak would have handled that better. Yeah, Tom Brady, that's a touchdown the Eagles are beat, But I guess what I'm saying is I like what Mike McCarthy said in the offseason. I like the fact that he's taken over the play calling and he's gotten Keelan Moore shipped over here to this Charger team. And they're looking a little bit better every week. I know they got drilled by the 49ers a few weeks ago. I'm saying all this to say that if this team, and there's a good chance that happens, that if this Dallas team meets up with this Eagles team in January in Philadelphia, both teams fully healthy, they have a very good chance to beat the Eagles. This reminds me, I've seen Mad New Yorker here. You go back many years like I do. The way they played yesterday, having real context after sleeping on it and watching that game, I've recorded it and watched it and fast forward through all the BS commercials, through all the little, stoppage of plays and everything to peel somebody off the ground or some challenge or whatever, and just watch the actual play on the field. They remind me a lot of that 2007 Giants team that barely lost to that world-beating Patriot team back in 2007 at the very end of the season. And we know what happened when they played again. They beat the Patriots, They beat that Patriot team. So I've seen this all year from Dallas. And I'll tell you what, I would be proud of them because I got a feeling, Dak included, that they're taking the next step. They are really taking the next step. And mind you, folks, that was in that was in Philadelphia. And you say, well, why ain't you hammering Philadelphia? Well, listen, Philadelphia lost Dallas Goedert. He's got a fractured forearm. He'll be out 4 weeks. That's the tight end there. And you got to look at Philadelphia. They're getting everybody's best shot because they were blowing teams out last year. You know, you're getting everybody's best shot. I think that Jalen Hurts, he got hurt again. He came back in. He looks like Terminator. I got a sense that that's not going to catch up, or excuse me, that's not going to last if they don't change that. That's my only complaint about him, about the way he's being played per se. But I know they love that brotherly shove, tush push, whatever you want to call it. But the hardest of their schedule is still up to come. The brunt of their schedule. They have a shot at a 1 seed. They have a bye week that couldn't come at a better time, and this could very well come down to them and all teams. Detroit, what a beautiful league, the Detroit Lions for that 1 seed. So I was looking at their schedule down the stretch. Now, they're off a bye this week. Like I said, couldn't come at a better time. Dallas Goedert is going to be out about a month, fractured forearm. Hurts is a little banged up. They've got a bye this week. Now, they play at Kansas City, who's got a bye week too, and I'll talk about them here in a minute. On Monday night, I expect Kansas City to win that game, even if both teams are healthy. I'll talk about that here in a little bit. But you want to look and say, well, who are you comparing them to? Well, it's between the 49ers and the Eagles. And, looking back, you kind of wish Dallas may have done something, but their corners played well, all things considered. Again, I like the way Tony Pollard run the ball. I like their schemes. I like what Dallas, everything but actually winning the game. And they were an inch away at Philadelphia from doing that. But so it feels like that Eagles still got a shot, but check this out. At the 1 seed, very difficult, by the way, very difficult to get that 2 years in a row. Very difficult. They play at Kansas City on Monday night. Short week. I know Buffalo's banged up, but short week, come home and play Buffalo. All right? Then they got the 49ers at home the very next week on December 3rd. Then they go to Dallas. So that is Kansas City, Buffalo, San Francisco, to Dallas. They fly to Dallas, fly back to Philadelphia. Then they fly to Seattle. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tough games there that could possibly lose 3 of them and make them a 13-4 football team. And their last 3 games, they got to play the Giants at home, Arizona at home, and then at the Giants. Those are 3 gimmies there. So, but if you look at Detroit's schedule, it's San Francisco still. They got 3 losses. Now Frisco will be back this week, folks, and they play against Jacksonville. But they also have Tampa, Seattle, at Philadelphia on December 3rd. That'll be interesting. Okay. But they'll have 12 days. They'll have 12 days to prepare. So I'd give them the edge against the Eagles. A lot of good football to be played here. But, of course, the 49ers got to play Baltimore and then at Washington towards the end, and then the Rams to finish the season. But look at Detroit's schedule, folks. Listen to Detroit's schedule. Detroit's only got 2 losses, okay? Detroit plays at the Chargers next week. Well, the Chargers are playing the night. They're playing the night. Detroit will probably have more fans in the stadium. They still got to play the Bears Green Bay, at New Orleans, who's up and down. Bears again. Denver at home. At on Christmas Eve, they play at Minnesota. Now they play at Dallas on a couple of days before Saturday the 30th, and then they end the season at home against Minnesota. So they could very well get the 1 seed. So it's not a foregone conclusion that the Eagles are going to get that 1 seed, folks. That's how hard it is. You have to survive injuries to get that 1 seed 2 years in a row. Even the deepest team, and they are the deepest team in the league, that Eagles team, they are the deepest team in the NFL, okay? And there's still a chance that Dallas could still catch them. I don't think it'll happen, but I just read you that 5-game stretch there. They're going to have to get Hurts less and less involved in that tush-push. Matter of fact, I would just do away with it. I would do it. I know it looks great, but every time it seems like that Hurts is coming up lame. More and more on that. Hey, Wesley, good to see you, man. All the way out in the out there in the Australia on the other side of the world there. So I'm impressed with both teams. More impressed with the way Dallas played last night. And Philly still got a tough road ahead of him. They got a big win. They should have won. They're at home. They're the favorite. But that was definitely the best game of the week. Very dramatic, very playoff-like atmosphere, if you mind me. But all I'm saying is, a football fan, if they play up there in January, if they got to go to in Philadelphia and play up there, Dallas got a shot. Dallas has a shot to beat that Eagles team, is what I'm saying in a nutshell. Okay. Now, all right. Boy, you know something? Let me talk about the Bills. Okay. Buffalo, Cincinnati. That went just about Melbourne Cup days. Not sure what that means, Wesley, but all right, brother. Now, Cincinnati, yeah, Mariota is the backup. Buffalo, Cincinnati is just about the way I scripted it. Played a parlay in it. Had a parlay for Stephon Diggs touchdown, Joe Mixon touchdown, Cincinnati win. $28 on a $5 play. Just how I scripted it. Didn't script the score, but pretty freaking close. I said, by the way, I said the Eagles would win 27-22. They won 28-23. All the shows, and Wesley watches them, all the shows are recorded with my and Carlos Mad New Yorker Chavez's take on those shows. Now, Bengals early played the way I expected them. They got off to a 21-7 lead at halftime, and I just got this feeling that they got a little complacent in the second half. You know, they got a little complacent in the second half, and towards the end made the plays when needed, sealed the 6-point victory. New players in their secondary, jumped in routes, even stripping Dalton Kincaid. So the Bengals are starting to mold. They're starting to mold into that team we saw last December, okay? The team that beat Kansas City, okay? The team that beat Buffalo. This is why I picked them to win the Super Bowl, although the Ravens look like world beaters out there. I get it. And by the way, a side note, the Ravens play Cleveland next week, and Cleveland's left tackle's out, and the Ravens have no pity because Cleveland shut them out last year. they're wanting to pounce on Cleveland this week. But this Cincinnati team, they played just the way I thought they would. Got a little bored. Josh Allen gets frustrated. He leads the team in rushing. Exactly what I thought. 44 yards, did get a rushing touchdown. And I'm watching, by the way, I went to bed at like halftime. Recorded it, watched the rest of it at 5 a.m., closer to 4:20 in the morning. Watched the rest of it and got to see every little detail of that. And it just the way I thought it would. And then I went through Twitter or X. Fire Ken Dorsey was trending. Now, that's the offensive coordinator. Late touchdown to Stephon Diggs. The reason for that late touchdown is so Diggs won't have a temper tantrum in the locker room. And there's not an incident that's being talked about today. Okay. But, right now, the Bills would not be in the playoffs, folks. Okay. The Bills would not be in the playoffs. They're going back into their old ways. 44 yards rushing, gave up early on the running game, did not use like the Titans did against Cincinnati. Now, of course, I understand that Burrow was more banged up. But, hey, Burrow, 31-44, 2 touchdowns, 110 QBR rating. Josh Allen, 1 touchdown, 1 sack, 62.7, 44 yards rushing. James Cook had 20, and Latavius Murray had 4. Totally gave up on the run game. Of course, Diggs gets his 6 catches, 86 yards, and a touchdown. Caught that 2-point conversion, and they come out with a loss. And McDermott is to blame for this. He's in charge. Does he move off his coordinator and get another chance? I don't know. I know that I would get an offensive-minded head coach. I'd go after a Gary Kubiak type of guy that went over there and helped Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos win a Super Bowl back in 2015 is what I would do. That's the same thing I've been saying for a long time. And by the way, again, they are not in the playoffs. The Bengals look great. And the whole AFC North, there was a stat put out. There was a little note put out today by one of these reporters. I want to make sure I got it wrote down here. The Athletic puts this out. Excuse me. If the NFL season ended today, the Chiefs would be the 1 seed. Man, I'll talk about them in a minute. The Ravens will be the 2. The Jaguars will be the 3. The Dolphins would be the 4. The Steelers will be the 5. The Browns would be the 6. And the Bengals would be the 7. The Bengals would play at Baltimore in the wild card round. The Chiefs would get do you see a commonality there? Where I was way right. AFC North team. The whole AFC North would make the playoffs. The Ravens are the top seed. Steelers, Browns, Bengals. And the team in last place is probably the team I would pick to go out of there. That would be this Bengal team. Although the Ravens are playing absolutely killer football. Total blowout, 18-1 now. Baltimore, Lamar Jackson is as the top. Lamar Jackson against the NFC. So, that is a good start there. Good scope. Okay, good scope. Let's start there. Lamar Jackson, 18-1 now against NFC teams. Ravens dominated 37-3. Geno Smith, as I predicted, totally out of sorts. Could not run on the Ravens. Could not throw on the Ravens. this team would be virtually unbeatable if there was no Kansas City, but there is a Kansas City. If there was not a healthy Cincinnati Bengals, but there is a healthy Cincinnati Bengals. I like to see them line up against the Eagles right now. I would love to see the Eagles and the Ravens because I do think that those teams, that would be a great matchup. But they're not playing bad. Miami getting back Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard, folks. And I thought they'd beat Kansas City. Kansas City, led by Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator. Those young players are starting to come in fruition. The Chiefs are riding, and they are putting together a new model. You know, offensive line, most of your defense on rookie contract, Chris Jones, most of your defense on rookie contracts other than Chris Jones, your tackle. And they had Miami down 21-0. They had Miami down 21-0. And they got bored. I mean, I didn't watch much of it because I had to go to church and stuff, but I'm watching the box score, you know, and I'm telling you, you get your quarterback right, you get a offensive-minded head coach, and you spend your money on the defensive coordinator. You spend your money. Look at the Cowboys. Look how close. The Cowboys are close, man. But same thing with them. Dan Quinn's a high-dollar defensive coordinator. You don't go the other way around. You don't go defense and spend it. No, you go because he has more. The offensive-minded head coach sets that tone with the offensive line. And Colin Cowherd, I got to give him credit for this. He said, have you noticed the best offensive lines come from offensive-minded head coaches? The teams that they're playing on, because they know, because that's where the money's going. See, there's a lot of money spent on Orlando Brown. And look at the usage of tight ends in both the Bengals and the Kansas City Chiefs. So I thought, going back to Miami here, what I was wrong about, Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey and Vic Fangio here. Well, I thought, well, hey, man, they're going to take out all the weapons. Travis Kelce ain't going to do nothing. The first drive was like a masterpiece. I watched all the first drive. You know, I did the Back Jack and Jim Jeffcoat show. And I watched that first drive. Noah Gray, touchdown. I mean, just an absolute Noah Gray. Look at this box score here. The Chiefs, the other tight end, or not Noah Gray, 3 catches, 34 yards for Noah Gray. Rashid Rice, 2 catches, 1 touchdown. Kadarius Toney, 1 catch. You say, well, what are you saying this stuff for? There's no stars, man. There's no stars there. But you got the quarterback and you got the scheme. And Mike McDaniels of Miami, they had no shot, man. They had no shot. Tua couldn't get rid of the ball quick enough. He was confused out there. Totally, this is, like I said last week and the week before that, about this Kansas City duo. The frustrations of what the opposing fan bases are going to have to deal with. This is Brady Belichick 2.0, folks. This is Brady. But they win when they don't have any stars. They win on defense. The quarterback's just so. They just flat out, and they rise to the occasion when they feel threatened. And then they play well and win. So Carlos had a comment, and I noticed you said something about Carlos said something about pump the brakes on the Cincinnati Bengals. And I wanted to read something. The Athletic put this out there. Joe Burrow has 10 passing touchdowns and no interceptions in the last 4 games. Joe Burrow is 5-1 against Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes in his career. 5-1 with the coach who is younger than me. I'm 42. Andy Reid, a legend, Hall of Famer. That's how special Joe Burrow is. He's 5-1. The first time, I think he's 3-1 against Pat Mahomes. We saw how good Pat Mahomes was when challenged. Let me go back to your here. Joe Cool. Let's see. Stop talking Bills. I'm trying to look and see where your comment is there, Carlos. I'm going to put it on the big screen there. Because Joe Burrow is Bills defense. They can't stop and no pump the brakes. He says pump the brakes on the Bengals. 5-1. And I tell you, man, he's something else. So it's starting to look like last year. You know, I mean, it's your usual suspects. What can I say, man? The cream rises to the top, folks. The cream rises to the top. So I was wrong about Miami. That was a bad scope. Now, good scope. Tampa would look good early. And then they would fade. They were 3-1. And 4 games now. They have lost 4 straight, 5 out of 6. Baker Mayfield played terrible at Houston, but a backup, stopgap quarterback at best. You know, that's what I think he's. So Tampa is going to be in line for. I'll say this. I think I said this last week. Possibly Sunday, Cal Trash starts for Tampa. Possibly. It's either this Sunday or next Sunday. People are going to start reporters, Athletic or whatever. They're going to start asking Tampa Bay coaching staff, what about Cal Trash? You've lost 5 out of 6. You got Mike Evans out there. You got Godwin out there. Rashard White's not a bad running back. You got above average defense. What about Kyle Trash? Good scope. Okay, bad scope. One of my plays against the spread, folks, was this Atlanta team. I'll never pick Atlanta to do anything right now with this coaching staff. People are talking, and I love Josh Dobbs. But Josh Dobbs, nobody has ever gave Josh Dobbs just gets put in one team after another. You know, you would think, and I would hope maybe Minnesota will have a serious conversation and say, Cousins is done. He's a free agent, okay? Let's give an offseason to Josh. Remember, he was brought in late, just before the season started with Arizona. Let's put a full offseason. Let's put a full scheme around Josh Dobbs. Give him a shot. I said the Titans should do it. I thought maybe Arizona should do it, but Arizona's flaky, you know. Now Minnesota with a lot more players. Why don't they try it? But you can't – the Atlanta Falcons at home, you can't let a guy come in on Tuesday, don't even know everybody's name. The coach is talking him up after the game. He's still out talking. You could tell he looked uncomfortable, like, hey, nice to meet you. I'm glad we won. He was still shaking hands after beating Atlanta on the road. Their quarterback rookie gets knocked out of the game. He comes in, wins the game, don't even know the playbook. You run an out route, you run in. Atlanta couldn't contain him. And, of course, I lost on one of my parlays there. But Arthur Smith, he is on the hot seat for that. You know, or at least his defensive coordinator. I know Dean Pease retired, you know, and they got this Ryan Nelson guy, which I'll talk about USC here in a minute. I mean, that's unbelievable, man. You can't lose to a guy who just got signed 4 or 5 days ago. You just cannot lose to a guy like that at home with that defense on the other side, which Taylor Heineke did what he was supposed to. They went down there, scored, won the game. By the way, so they're still in it, and now the Minnesota Vikings are still in it. That'll be one of our games to talk about. So I don't call for firings, but man, that is just unbelievable. So yeah, that they got some problems there. Atlanta, soft team. I don't know what's it. Just a lot of pretty women there, a lot of partying, but they always there's a level soft to that team that goes back to the Matt Ryan days. And I just do not know what that is. Is it a dome team? Is it something with that team? You know, but they used to be dominant at times at home. Now, unless Matt Ryan was playing against Brady and he'd fold like a cheap suit. So, you know, Arthur Smith, he's a player, a coach. If they don't make it with this ridiculously easy schedule, you know, I could see Arthur Blank saying, yeah, we don't got the quarterback right, but I don't know about you, man. I don't know about you, FedEx son. That was a bad scope. Sorry about picking. Don't ever pick Atlanta, guys. They're the most up and down polar team out there. Okay, good scope. Speaking of bad defense, USC gave up 52 points again. And Sunday morning, Lincoln Riley fires his defensive coordinator, Alex the Grinch, who stole Christmas. I told you from the very beginning that people were hyped up on this guy, Lincoln Riley, and they couldn't play any defense in Oklahoma. At times they'd be okay defensively. They never had a good or excellent defense at Oklahoma under Riley. And I don't see what's going to be better when he goes to USC. He actually got worse. Gave up 52. Michael Penix. It's his Heisman to lose. And, of course, they fired their defensive coordinator Sunday morning in the big game there. So that's the good scope, bad scope. Yes, folks, I have not forgot about Danny Boy. I haven't forgot about Danny Dimes. Okay. Daniel Jones tears his ACL. Blowout loss to Vegas there. Even before this injury, I opened up the show, folks, talking about the Eagles and the Cowboys. And I think this was Chris Collinsworth. I can't remember. It may have been another commentator. But last year, when they were blown out again, the Giants, blown out by the Eagles, the commentator said, listen, man, there's just a talent disparity here, folks. They don't have the roster for the Eagles. And quite frankly, they don't have the roster to match up. They're 16.5-point underdogs against the Cowboys. Evan O'Neal, hurt all the time. Looks like he's a bust. Okay? If you're a Giants fan at this point, I mean, what are they, 2-7 now? They picked 4th in the draft. They got that second-round pick for Leonard Williams. Send him to Seattle. He didn't do nothing week 1. They got blown out 37-7. That's a different story. We just talked about that. But, this is something that a couple of things here. I would still watch the Giants if I'm a Giants fan. And what I would look for, and this is what coaches look for too. There'll be some players that come up out of the woodwork here. The next man up mentality with the Giants. There'll be players here, folks, that will jump up and say, okay, I actually like him better than the starter. This happens almost every time I see a team that has a whole bunch of injuries. It may be a lineman, it may be a running back, it may be a tight end, special teams guy. There'll be somebody from this team that's going to pop because they got a whole lot of injuries. I can't go over the injury report. It's ridiculous. And you'll be able to use them next year, and they'll be better than the starter, okay? And another thing to look at is, Pro Football Focus. I was reading PFF's. So they're drafting fourth. They've got a first round, two second rounds. They got a third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. According, like I said, they'll be picking fourth overall. And Pro Football Focus says, with Daniel Jones struggling with healthy and potentially out for the year with a knee injury, the Giants will likely finish the striking distance of Caleb Williams, Drake May. Here we get to aggressively ensure the season is a fluke and not the start of a trend. So Brian DeBall's pretty clever schemer. They need inner guard play, tackles. Everybody but Andrew Thomas is on the block on the offensive line. With that fourth pick, by the way, so they got the fourth pick. That's if they traded and got Caleb Williams. If they stayed at 4, Rookie Watch, this website I follow, NFL Rookie Watch, this Twitter site, it says the 2024 drafts reportedly has a chance to produce 7 first-round quarterbacks. We know how that goes. 2 or 3 of them will be totally duds. 1 will be an underachiever, and 1 or 2 will be a superstar, but you don't know which 1 or 2 that it could be. All right? And I just clicked off that day. Man, dang, man, I'm off tonight. Folks, I'm sorry. I feel like Dak Prescott in that last drive. Okay. So it says that would break the all-time record since 83 where you had some pretty good players there. Jim Kelly, Elway, Marino. Pretty good, huh? Pretty good. He talks about Caleb Williams, Drake May, Schroeder Sanders. If he comes out, I think Schroeder will stay with his dad in Colorado. J.J. McCarthy, which I think will come out. Michael Penix, I think, will come out, of course. Jalen Daniels looked great Saturday night, by the way. But I'm high on Michael Penix. I'm high on Drake May and Caleb Williams. Not as high on him, but I think he's probably could with the right system around him. And then you come back and you say, well, what about Daniel Jones? You got to eat it next year with Jones. He's going to be recovered. I read that it's a 9-month recovery. Depends on how aggressively and how hard he works. It's almost a year recovery for Kyler Murray. He's supposed to come back and play next week. We're talking 360 days for Murray. Okay, but do you bring him in to compete with Jones? Do you spend your cap money on an offensive line? Do you spend the rest of those picks? By the way, heavy tackle draft too. 6 or 7, possibly in the first round in the draft. I know people don't like to talk about this stuff in November. It's not until April, but that's when hope comes. Do you look at Brandon Beane, the general manager, and see, is he doing the right job? Is Brian DeBall one-hit wonder? I said I was skeptical of signing Daniel Jones to an extension. They have to eat it this next year, But this is not a long 5-year deal. They can get out of it at the end of next year, folks. Matter of fact, I think I screenshotted it, and we'll get the exact numbers on that. We could talk about Jones's future here. Okay. All right. Now, what's his dead cap? That's the key question here. It's $69 million next year. You can't do nothing with him. He's going to recover, and you're going to have to pay for it. Shame on you, management. But that's that's spilled milk. We can't do nothing about that. Now, in 2025, it's a $22 million dead cap hit. In 2026, of $11 million. So, do you bring him in to compete with the new quarterback? Do you just build the offensive line up? They're going to have that option. They're going to have a very high pick. They're probably going to pick 4th. Okay. I said they wouldn't make the playoffs. I said they'd be about 8 and 9. We talked about that on the program. If you're going to lose them, you might as well lose as many as you can. And again, you're going to find some players out of all these injuries that you're going to look at and say, I want to keep player X, Y, and Z. That's it. Titans. Look at the Titans. We're here in Nashville. All people ask me, Will Levis. Well, you know what? If we don't make, we want to see the development of Will Levis this year. You know, the Titans are picking about 10th, about the way I predicted they would be picking right now. If the draft started today, some mocks have them taking Brock Bowers. I would try to get one of them tackles. I don't think Diller's the guy, but that's just me. But so I think you got to look. That conversation has to be had with Mr. Mayer, the owner, Brandon Sheehan, and Brian DeBall, and then have a sit down and say, listen, if we do this, we admit we made a mistake, but at least we're giving the fan base hope by bringing in competition. What if Drake May's not that good? Well, you just trade him, you know? Or what if Jones is flats out kicks his butt and you trade him? But I think that conversation has to be had in that office and saying, listen, the guy's been running around for years. We had a lot of smoke and mirrors that I came up with, Brian DeBall, I'm talking about, that head coach. This is what I talked about last year on this program. I've talked about it with Mad New Yorker. Okay. Now he's got an ACL injury and a bunch of money. Okay. Do you bring in the competition? And I would try to sell that to the ownership before he fires me. Now, if he fires me, he still owes me a boatload of money because he's only got 2 years completed. I'm sure the ball, like most coaches, has got a 5-year contract. You know, do you want to look like that guy on the West Coast? Do you want to look like Mark Davis, who depends on what mood he's in? Excuse me, folks. Let me grab my phone here, which is my notes. That's a $64,000 question. But me personally, I looked my owner right in the eye and I said, listen, man, there's only so much we can do with Daniel. Okay, he's a good kid. This is all the talent he's got. You know, his best stats were against the Vikings last year, and they fired their defensive coordinator. They're doing a lot better now. But, you know, they were like 31st in defense, folks. So those are something that those conversations have to be had. And I don't know if I would fire the coach and GM again, because then it goes back to what I just said about Mark Davis, folks. Do you want to look like that organization that's unsure of yourself and gives up on coaches too fast, too easy, and you are sending that message to all the other talent out there that you don't have an ounce of patience? Okay, and maybe in the Steelers situation, you got too much patience. So it wasn't on the table at the beginning of the season. Now it should be on the table. Well, should you penalize a guy for no? Well, hey, listen, this is the league, man. This is a next man up type of league. He's got a lot of guaranteed money. Chargers rookie door, 87-yard touchdown return. Boy, the Chargers got on the board, I just noticed. 14-0, refs gave the extra points. Okay. All right. So anyways, so that's Daniel Jones, folks, in a nutshell. And let me go over some of these. Pickle says Andy Reid and John Madden both played on the offensive line. So, yeah, so those guys know about the trenches, offensive line play in the NFL, and this is still with the Giants I'm talking about here and looking at my comments. It's more pivotal now to have the offensive line intact and on the same page than it ever has been. And when you got them clicking, you feel like that you could win any game. Look at the Eagles right now. They're a prime example of that. You know, they could keep that ball for 12, 15 minutes, and you can't do a bleeping thing about it because you can't stop them, you know. Okay, sit down, texting them tomorrow. You guys, New York and Robert Butler, build this team. Yeah, Pickle says, or Carlos says, sit down. I'm texting them tomorrow. You guys go back to the Buffalo. Hey, I tell you what, man. I tell you what. That's what I would do. I'd analyze every position on that team. Other than Andrew Thomas, looks like Evan O'Neal, the right tackle for the Giants, was a bust, man. You know, they need help at corner. They need help at linebacker. They need help up at right tackle, center, guard, tackle. You know, they don't have the roster that the Eagles has, and it shows. Pickle says no techno geeks. I just want guys that can that can build the offensive line, have a modern day scheme, and get stops on defense. They don't have to be all world on defense. They don't have to have a whole bunch of wide receivers. We done seen that. You want a quarterback that's real dedicated and is not a celebrity quarterback. Now I sound like Bill Parcells. 10 things you look at in a quarterback. That's great, man. I played that a few years ago. Okay, now switching gears here. Wanted to comment on a story that I read just now. This afternoon, Corey, if you out there, Boston Celtics, switching gears here. Talk about, remember Sam Bowie went to the Blazers. Greg Oden went to the Blazers. I don't know what it is with Portland and big man. God forbid. God bless them. They're nice people up in Portland. I talked to a cable guy. Pretty nice guy up there, some Comcast guy a few years ago. I feel bad for him. Shaq says Portland is one of the best basketball towns he's ever been to as an opponent. And I read today that, remember the trade that Portland made with Boston, sending Robert Williams up there for Drew Holiday or whatever. Robert Williams, the big man, great defender with the Celtics. Robert Williams III is facing potential season-ending surgery to repair a bone and ligament damage after a right kneecap injury. Williams could also choose to clean up the procedure within 2 to 3 months. It's a thin line between that and a whole season's worth of surgery. You could put him out the whole season. Now, he was somewhat injured. In Boston. And I don't know what it is. I was watching a documentary. Who's the big man? Bill Walton, Pickles. Going back, he got hurt up in Portland. What is it about Portland that big man just totally fall apart up there, man? Said it's a Paul Bunyan. Yeah, I don't know what it is, man. They have some of the worst. They have some of the worst luck with big man and injuries in general. Who's it? Brandon Roy that played for Texas. I may have his name right. I think it was Brandon Roy, right, Carlos? When we were Austin Peay, this guy was a baller at Texas. And when he got drafted to Portland, he fell apart, man. He wasn't even a big man. You know, kudos to Damian Lillard not making it out of Portland without getting a permanent injury. But yeah. So the guy says Harding fan wears Clippers game at beer custom at Clippers game debut. That's funny. Yeah, rains all the time. So it must give those big men arthritis or something. I don't know. It makes Boston look smart. You know, because a lot of people were questioning. I was reading on the internet. They were questioning that Robert Williams trade because he was a very good defender. Corey knows. He's a very good defender, but he was hurt up in Boston. And then they made the trade and got Porzingis. So far, so good for Porzingis. Now less news is broke while I've been on the show. But Robert Williams may be done for the year, man. Yeah. Yeah, and maybe because Lillard is smaller than 6'4". So Sunday's game will have Kyler Murray. So speaking of injury, like I said, Murray will be back. They want to showcase his injury or his talent. They've got 2 first-round picks. Keep an eye on Kyler Murray and how he plays. If he plays well, then Arizona will be shopping to trade down, and maybe a Giants team wants to move up. So Murray is back and will play. Kyler Murray's back, and there's going to be trouble. Hey now. But so the system, going back to Murray there, my man here from Pro Football Focus says Sunday's game versus the Falcons will mark 335 days since Murray tore his ACL on December 12th of last year. So we'll see how that thing plays out. But, I hope he gets better and stays well, and I hope Robert Williams from Portland in basketball stays well. So, and Carlos says even Sabonis got hurt up there. Sabonis survived. Rasheed Wallace, he got traded to Detroit Pistons, and they end up winning the championship. So get out of Portland. It's a bad luck, man. Rasheed Wallace, he went downhill in Portland. By the way, I'm out of Memphis. Didn't Zach Randolph-Pickles used to play for the Trailblazers? Zebo's career fell apart. When he got moved to Memphis, he played great. Zebo played great, and once he came here to Tennessee and played for Memphis, but and I know they got some talented young players up there. They got some talented players up there right now. I kind of like to go see a game up there sometime because I know they're pretty hyped up about their NBA teams. Like I said, it was funny. I was watching that Bill Walton documentary, 30 for 30 on him, and he was having some injury problems, and he's 70s, and he had the long hair. And some Portland fan, some old man's hollering at him, "Get a haircut, you hippie! Get a haircut!" He was all up in the 70s, man. He had the long hair. He had the little headband thing holding his hair back. He's playing great, but I thought that thing was fun. If you guys like the show, share the show. I'll be back on tomorrow. We'll talk about some of the other games we didn't get to today. Maybe we'll talk about the Commanders. I'm trying to get Keith Engel back on for Wednesday. A lot of good college games. Great college games. I stayed up late Saturday night and watched Washington and USC. Simultaneously, I was recording LSU, Alabama. We'll talk about that probably Wednesday. I'll give you my Power 5 tomorrow. We'll talk about tonight's game. I know that Chargers ran back a punt. I don't know what Chargers are up now, but you never know which team you're going to get that shows up. So either way, have a good night, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place, here on Sports Scope.